Greetings and shalom, family.
Shalom, everybody.
Today we're looking at Proverbs 31 Revelation. It is our hope that through the process of sharing, some of you too will receive some helpful insight.
All praises to the Most High. For those who don't know, I am Sister Rivka.
Drum roll, please. Your brother Mashai, all praises.
With Renaissance of Covenant Keepers. So, yeah, we're going to take a look into Proverbs 31, the revelation of the virtuous woman, and just get a deeper look into what these scriptures are saying. The goal is to gather instruction and understanding from this scripture that we may be set right and be equipped for every good work. Just like Timothy, 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 16 and 17 says, all scripture is breathed out by Elohim and profitable for teaching and for reproof, for setting straight, for instruction and righteousness, that the man of Elohim might be fitted, equipped for every tov or good work.
We will look at who is Lemuel, who is the mother, who is she, what, forgive me, what is she advising her son? What do verses 10 through 29 really say? And what can we gather from Proverbs 31?
Oh, praises to the Most High. All right. And so the first thing we're going to look at is who is Lemuel?
Transliteration, Lemuel, Lemuel, forgive me, Lemuel. Definition from H3926 and H410, belonging to Yah. Lemuel, a symbolical name of Solomon. Lemuel. H3926, Lemo, 4 or 2. H410, L or mighty one. Putting it together, belonging to or for Yah. Question being, who is for Yah though?
No praises to the Most High.
Review the scriptures. Devarim or Deuteronomy 32, 8 through 10. When the Most High gave the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the boundaries of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. For the portion of Yah is his people, Yaakov, his allotted inheritance. He found him in the wilderness and in a wasted, howling desert. He encompassed him. He made him understand. He watched over him as the apple of his eye. Deuteronomy 32, 8 through 10. Hazan, or Revelations, chapter 12, 16, and 17. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the river which the dragon had spewed out of his mouth. And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to fight with the remnant of her seed, those guarding the commands of Elohim and possessing the witness of Messiah.
Oh, praises to the Most High. So, well, before we go on to those two, just looking at who Lemuel was, or Lemuel, reason we're taking a look at these Proverbs 31 scriptures again is because the traditional or kind of surface level teaching just shows that it's, or says that it's a Tov scripture or good scripture for the women to look at and for, the wives and the mothers to learn how to be and be a virtuous woman and learn how to behave. But just given these particular scriptures that we're reviewing here, Lemuel, it's in the name, belonging to or for Yah,
Right.
like it says. And so it's a symbolical name of Solomon, but it's really talking about who is for Yah, those who are for Yah. As stated in Deuteronomy, the portion of Yahuwah is Yaakov, his allotted inheritance. So I think that's really significant. The ones for Yah is his allotted inheritance. It's a little deeper than just talking about a woman or the women in
Mm-hmm.
these scriptures, and we'll see that even more as we begin to look further into this. So we're talking about now who is the wife and who is the mother. The mother being the bond of the family, and the wife being the feminine of H376 and H582, which is um, meaning woman also, or a wife. So Proverbs 31 verses 1 through 2 says, the words of sovereign Lemuel, a message which his mother taught him. And it says, what, my chosen? And what, chosen of my womb? And what, chosen of my vows? So we see the mother is addressing him, chosen of the womb, chosen of the vows. And in Proverbs 31, verses 10 through 12, a little further down, who does find a capable wife? For she is worth far more than rubies. The heart of her husband shall trust her, and he has no lack of gain. She shall do him good and not evil all the days of her life.
Mm.
And so, again, wife 803. We're going to see as we further look into this, into these scriptures and verses, who these women are.
Mm. Oh, praises. Review the scriptures pertaining to wife. Revelations chapter 21, verses 9 and 10. And there came unto me one of the seven angels which had the seven vials full of the seven last plagues, and talked with me, saying, Come hither, and I will show thee the bride, the Lamb's wife. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from Yah. Revelations 19:6 through 8. And I heard, as it were, the voice of a great multitude, and as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of mighty thundering, saying, Alleluia! For the Adonai, Yah, omnipotent, reigneth. Let us be glad and rejoice, and give honor to him. For the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife hath made herself ready. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and bright. For the fine linen is the righteousness of the saints. Pertaining to mother, Revelations chapter 12, 1 through 5. And a great sign was seen in the heaven, a woman clad with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. And being pregnant, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. And another sign was seen in the heaven, and see, a great fiery red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns on his heads, and his tail draws a third of the stars of the heaven, and throws them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth to devour the child as soon as it was born. And she bore a male child, who was to shepherd all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught away to Elohim and to his throne. All praises.
Hmm.
Revelations chapter 12, 16 through 17. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth, and swallowed up the river which the dragon had spewed out of his mouth. And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and went to fight with the remnant of her seed, those guarding the commands of Elohim and possessing the witness of Messiah. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, 7 through 12. Wherefore I prayed, and understanding was given me. I called upon Yah, and the spirit of wisdom came to me. I preferred her before scepters and thrones, and esteemed riches nothing in comparison of her, and I rejoiced in them all, because wisdom goeth before them, and I knew not that she was the mother of them. Ecclesiasticus chapter 24, 1 through 8. Wisdom shall praise herself, and shall glory in the midst of her people. So the Creator of all things gave me a commandment, And he that made me caused my tabernacle to rest and said, let thy dwelling be in Jacob, or in Jacob, and thine inheritance in Israel.
All praises to the Most High. So yeah, excuse me. In regards to the wife, we're seeing that in the Revelation scriptures, how it's talking about the wife or the excuse me, the bride of the Lamb being the saints,
Mm-hmm.
because to her it was given to be arrayed in fine linen, clean and bright, and that fine linen being the righteousness of the saints. And so we can kind of see right there the wife is being a parallel or an equivalence is being drawn between the wife and the saints. The saints are the bride of Mashiach, of the Lamb. And then the mother, we can see through these scriptures that the mother, as it states in like Wisdom of Solomon and Ecclesiasticus, wisdom. She's a mother of all. And then she also, the creator of all, was it say, gave me a commandment, cause my tabernacle to rest instead, let thy dwelling be in Yaakov and thine inheritance in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So that mother, that wisdom, is supposed to birth a new thing, supposed to bring forth that male child that is talked about in Revelations.
That's right. All praises.
Yeah, we're going to see some more interesting things. I'm sorry, I need some water. We're going to see some more interesting things about it as we continue to, look further into these Proverbs 31 scriptures, because it's really, as we're going to see, it's really not just talking to the women, to the wives, to the mothers. It's not just talking to the females.
Proverbs 31. In the scriptures, there is a constant theme of the nation of Israel being referred to in the feminine. See the previous scriptures. Also see Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 2, and Isaiah 1, verse 8.
No praises. Yeah. And I'll get that right quick just so that we can kind of show and just drive that point home that Israel as a nation, as a whole, a lot of times is referred to in the feminine. And so we have Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 2, and it says, I have likened the daughter of Zion to a delicate woman. And that second scripture is Isaiah chapter 1,
Verse 8.
verse 8. Mhm.
And the daughter of Zion is left as a cottage in a vineyard, as a lodge in a garden of cucumbers, as a besieged city, referred to here as daughter of Zion.
So yeah, we can kind of see that throughout the scriptures, at least when it's talking about to the nation of Israel, it often refers to the nation as a whole in the feminine, and I believe that's due to the relationship that the nation is supposed to have with the Creator, taking on that help meet position or that help meet role. So oftentimes we do see the whole nation is a she. That's going to be pertinent as we look into these scriptures a little bit further. I can read these here. Proverbs 31, and we're starting at verse 10. And if you have your scriptures and you're listening in, I definitely encourage you to get your scriptures and read along with us as we go through these scripts and then look deeper into them. So, again, starting at verse 10, who does find a capable wife? For she is worth far more than rubies. The heart of her husband shall trust her, and he has no lack of gain. She shall do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She shall seek wool and flax, and with delight she works with her hands. She shall be as the ships of Tarshish. She brings her food from afar. Verse 15 through 18, she also rises while it is still night and provides food for her household and what is lawful for her girls. She shall consider a field and buy it. From her profits she shall plant a vineyard. She shall gird herself with strength and strengthen her arms. She shall taste when her gain is good, and her lamp does not go out by night.
Mm.
Going on, verse 16 through 19, she shall stretch out her hands to the distaff, and her hand shall hold the spindle. She shall, or 20 through 24, she shall extend her hand to the poor, and she shall reach out her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household is dressed in scarlet. She shall make tapestry for herself. She is dressed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. She shall make fine linen and sell them, and shall give girdles for the merchants.
25 through 27. Strength and splendor are her garments, and she rejoices in time to come. She shall open her mouth for wisdom, and on her tongue is the Torah of loving commitment. She watches over the ways of her household, and does not eat the bread of idleness. 27 and 29. She watches over the ways of her household, and does not eat the bread of idleness. Many daughters have done nobly, but you have risen over them all.
No praises. So, yeah, we're definitely going to just start to take a look a little further into these scriptures or into these instructions. Because when we look at these different verses, we'll see that they take on a lot deeper meaning. So, you want to take it? So, verse 10, who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. That's how the scripture reads straight out. And so as we start to look more into these verses and define these words with the Hebraic meaning, that's when we start to get a little bit different understanding and realize, okay, there's something more that's going on here beyond the surface level. Find, for example, is H4672, that's matzah, and that's properly to come forth or to appear or exist, right? And so virtuous, H2428, that's chayil, probably a force, whether of men or means, or the resources, generally an army, or also it's talking about valor, strength, a band of men, soldiers,
Mm-hmm.
So that sounds a lot different when you read it with the substitutions than what it sounds like when you're reading it straight out. So with the substitutions, it shows who can come forth as a valiant force or as an army or band of men.
Mm.
And her price being far above roof, so that coming forth as valiant men, it's more significant than any material that you can possess. When you can come forth as that army that the Most High is called forth, that's way different than who can find a virtuous woman.
It is.
It's
Indeed.
way different. In verse 15, will we read that straight out?
Got you.
Mhm.
She riseth also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens.
Rise, H6965, that's kum. To rise literally or to accomplish, intensively causative, or figuratively, to accomplish something. Okay. Night, H3915, layil. That's a twisting away of light, or figuratively again, it means adversity.
Come on.
Give, that's Nathan, H5415, means to give or to make, to apply or appoint, to ascribe or assign. Okay. And a portion, H2706, coke or cock. an enactment, hence an appointment, either of time, of space, quantity, of labor or usage, appoint or bound, a commandment, a custom or a decree. When you look at the Brown, that's the Brown Drivers Briggs version or definition of it. That's what the BDB stands for. The portion, it's talking about a prescribed limit or a specific decree or ordinance, or it's talking about a law in general.
Come on with it.
So she's rising at night, giving a portion to her maidens. And this is why I was saying earlier, or why I wanted to reiterate earlier, that a lot of times Israel as a nation is referred to in the feminine, because here, when it's talking about maiden, age 5291, Na'ara, that's just the feminine form of age 5288, which is a female servant. Age 5288 just means a servant, a boy servant. So Na'ara 5291 is just the female
side of it.
Yeah, the feminine side of it. And so I don't want us to get caught up that it's saying female. It's not just referring to the women. Remember, as a whole, the nation is being referred to in the feminine. So it's the servants, those of that nation that are the required servants, that it's talking about here when it's talking about maiden. And so it's giving, so read with the substitutions, verse 15 reads like, she abides while there is adversity. She bestows the spoil to her house and enacts decrees or laws or customs. And this shows a responsibility taken to sustain the house and establish order therein. When you're taking on that responsibility to sustain the household, using, right here, abiding while there is adversity, bestowing spoil to the house, giving food or giving that portion to your household, enacting decrees, establishing order. It's definitely just much deeper than that surface level that I'm so used to reading.
Absolutely. To abide, not only abide while there's adversity, but to overcome it. That's usually where the spoil comes in. It's usually a means of gain after overcoming adversity. But herein, comparing spiritual things with spiritual things, is back to verse 10. Who can come forth as that valiant force that can abide even in adversity? For by doing so, we can show ourselves faithful unto our Creator, and that's the goal. So it's almost not almost. It is a call to action.
All praises. In verse 19, pushing on, so when you read it straight out, she layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. So this one was an interesting one as well, because to lay, you think it just means to place your hands on something. No. Lay, 7971, shalak, to send away, or to send out, or to direct, or conduct. So that denotes some kind of action being taken. It's not just laying your hands on something. No, that's an action, direction being taken. Spindle, kishore, it's literally a director. It's literally the director part of that, machine or that utensil that's being used. So that is the spindle or the shank of a distaff. It's the directing portion of it. Distaff, pelek, hence a crutch or weight or pressure bearing part of a spindle machine. So it's going to take a little example here. I'm going to pull up a little example here of what we're talking about, because I had to do a little bit of digging to find, and a little research to kind of see what in the world is talking about with spindle and distaff.
Yeah, it's definitely an ancient technology. Technology nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. And so here's the picture of what that's talking about. This is like what's used for textiles. On here, you see how the distaff is being clutched close to the body as a crutch or support. And also, it's holding the weight, the bulk of the weight of the textile material, be it cotton or be it wool, whatever it is that they're using to twine or spin into a ball of yarn
Mm-hmm.
for the making of a garment or whatever it is that's going to be made, a cover, whatever it is. So yeah, it took a little bit of research to kind of see, all right, what's going on? Because as I was looking up these definitions, I'm like, I don't have an understanding of how this is used at all. And so, and I'll say this, even looking at this ancient, or not ancient, but you can tell it's pretty old. It's like colonial times or something like that. But even looking at this picture of the old type of machine, because it is, a machine, an aid
Mm-hmm.
that's used for something, I'll just put it like this. I got a little bit better understanding when I looked at the more modern version of a spindle um, component. And I'll pull that up as well because, well, no, I won't pull that up because that's the next thing here. Here we go. Because when I look at here it is, the machine spindle assembly. That's what it's called. In looking at the machine spindle assembly, I see a lot more different parts. I get to see them working together. And for me, just looking at these definitions here, the machine version of it or the assembly, spindle assembly portion, it just helped bring it home for me.
Oh,
So I
praises.
wanted to show both versions because we could see with the old version a spindle and a distaff and possibly get an understanding, but also we can get understanding of it from looking at the newer version of spindle as well. So we're getting back to verse 19. She laid her hands to the spindle, her hands hold the distaff. All right. This is also a verse when it's saying hands, it's not the same word both times. When it's talking about hands being laid to a spindle and hands holding a distaff, those are two different words. The first one, or hand, is 3027, that's yod. That denotes an open hand indicating power or your ability, or once again, the direction. It's different than a closed hand. The closed hand being H3709, which is kaf. A closed hand, which denotes or implies a gripping of something, also indicating a kind of power, but a different action um, being taken there.
Definitely interesting.
So when we read it with the substitutions here, she sends out or extends her power and her abilities to the one who directs. That's that spindle. And holds fast to the director, or the power or her power follows or is obtained by the director.
Hmm.
And this is why I'll tell you, it helped me a little bit more to look at the spindle assembly. Um, because as we see here, it's got spindle shaft, we've got different parts to it. So the spindle being the rod of direction, right? That means that, as it states here, abilities are extended to the director or to the spindle shaft. So the abilities are extended. Whatever your working abilities are, they're extended or expended for the sake of the director.
Sounds like some oneness going on.
mm.
Little John 17.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't it?
Oh, praises.
And her hands holding fast or holding the distaff, gripping the distaff, holds fast. That's what that denotes, a holding fast or a gripping of something. Now in this example, the distaff, what was in that old picture, that crutch looking thing
Mm-hmm.
under the arm, That's kind of been replaced here with the bearings. These are the whirring parts or the whirling parts of that machine that allow the spindle to rotate.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so this part of the spindle assists the whirling circular movement, being the bearings in the inner and outer tracks. And so, in looking at this kind of machine, I had to think, and I was thinking about it. I'm like, okay, so if her hands are extended to the director, or her abilities, sorry, are extended to the director, but at the same time, she's holding fast or gripping the distaff or gripping the bearings. What is that? Like, is there a part of this machine that does that? Not only allows the spindle to rotate or to function, but holds the bearings fast. And that's the housing component here. You look and see this black, that's the thing that surrounds the full outside of it. The housing component grips the distaff or those bearings,
That's deep.
hmm which also allows for that spindle shaft to rotate and do what it needs to do, direct the machine in whatever way it needs to go, and so on. And so the part that lends itself to the operation of the spindle and holds tight to the bearings or that distaff or whirling circuit